Welcome to Beginners Theory Series number 1, and today's topic is no criticism. Those who want to know what is no criticism, watch this video till the end. So no criticism is a 20th century movement and it is a dominant trend in Britain and America. The name is taken from John Crowe Ransom's work, The New Criticism. Actually, this movement had no name until the publication of John Crowe Ransom's work New Criticism, and this work is published in 1941. Major influences of New Criticism. First one is I. A. Richards' famous work Practical Criticism, which is published in 1929, and through this work he introduced a new method to evaluate poetry using formal aspects of a poem. His another work, Meaning of Meaning, which is published in 1923, is also influenced New Criticism. The full title of this particular work is The Meaning of Meaning, a study of the influence of language upon thought and of the science and of symbolism. This work is published in 1923. Another major influence is T.S. Eliot's Impersonality theory. Through this theory, T.S. Eliot tells that personality of the poet is not important, only tradition is important. Poem and poet are two different entities. Feeling and emotion resulting from the poem is different from the feeling and emotion resulting from the poet. He tells that we must give importance to poem or formal aspects of the poem. Another major influence is, of course, John Crowe Ransom's work, The New Criticism. So, what is New Criticism? I already mentioned it is a 20th century movement developed in Britain and America. Before 20th century, most of the critics concentrated on author while criticizing a work. So, they concentrated on author's biography, historical aspects, author's feelings, thoughts like that. But with the arrival of New Criticism, new critics pointed that while studying a text, we should avoid a reader's response, the author's intention, or historical and cultural context, etc. Author's background is not at all important. And for criticizing a work, critic must focus on formal aspects of a work. These formal elements include rhyme, meter, symbols, etc. And also we can evaluate settings of a novel, plot, etc. But more concentration is given to the formal aspects. In addition to the theme, new critics also looked for paradox, ambiguity, irony, etc. in a work. Key features of this moment. Author's background is not at all important. Author's feelings, emotions, his background, his any historical importance is not considered by new critics. The second feature is that they rejected extra textual sources. Any biography related to the text or any secondary materials is not important to evaluate a text. So third feature is the text must read by the technique of close reading. So this technique, close reading, is introduced by new critics. So close reading means reading a text or analyzing a text through formal aspects of a text such as words, images, symbols, or any figure of speech in that particular work such as imagery, metaphor, like that. So this technique is always applicable to poems. The interpretation of a text shows that these aspects serve to support the structure of meaning within a text, or this technique helps to understand the meaning inherent in the text. Fourth point is that the text is an autotelic artifact. So, autotelic artifact. This term we read through many theory texts. So, what is this autotelic artifact? So, autotelic artifact means the text is complete within itself. So, everything is in the text. That text is independent. So, for understanding a text, read that text clearly. Don't go for any other aspects or any other sources or to penetrate into a author's life or go for some history text. These are not recommended by new critics. No need for extra textual sources. That is the point. Another important feature is structure and meaning of a text is connected. That means for evaluating or for criticizing a text, we must understand its structure clearly and then evaluate or then connect it with the meaning of the text. These two things, structure and meaning, shouldn't be analyzed separately. These two terms are very important in new criticism. Another feature is they rejected affective fallacy and intentional fallacy. So, what is intentional fallacy? Intentional fallacy means evaluating a work by understanding author's intention. So, what is the intention of the author while writing that work? Or understanding what is the intended meaning behind that work. For example, Wordsworth wrote Daffodils to tell us about the natural beauty of that time. But according to new critics, we didn't go to the background of that poem, or we didn't investigate about the author's intention. If you want to know what is in that work, you must read that work closely and clearly. This term was coined by Wimsatt and Beardsley through their essay Intentional Fallacy. Another important term is affective fallacy. So, this term is introduced by Wimsatt and Beardsley through their sister essay of intentional fallacy, and that essay's name is affective fallacy. So, affective fallacy is evaluating a work by its emotional effect. So, new critics is of the point that we must not evaluate a work by its emotional effect produced on a reader. Then affective fallacy is first articulated in Wimsatt's verbal icon, and later they wrote an essay called Affective Fallacy. One of the important points you must remember is that Stanley Fish criticized affective fallacy in his essay Literature in the Reader. Major theorists of new criticism are T.S. Eliot, John Crowe, Ransom, Alan Tate, Cleanth Brooks, Robert Penn, Wimsatt, Beardsley, and I.A. Richards. There are a lot of other theorists too, but these theorists are important. This movement faced many criticisms, mainly because they rejected historical context. So, historical context is also important in a work. If you reject it, we didn't understand about the correct meaning of that work. Next point is that they rejected the effect of literature on readers. That is a purgatory effect that Aristotle mentioned. They didn't accept that particular effect. Third point is that they rejected social context. Actually, literature is a reflection of society, but new critics are against this view. Another criticism is that new critics rejected biography of the author. Without knowing the biography of an author, some texts are incomplete. So, for example, Sylvia Plath's daddy. Without knowing who is Sylvia Plath, what's her background, these things are very important for understanding that point. So, formal aspects is not enough for understanding a writer or a work of art completely. Despite of all these demerits, new criticism has its own importance. Hope it's useful for beginners. If you like this video, please give a big thumbs up and also share this video. Thank you.